Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Lights, Camera, Caption, where we go over all things film, all things writing, all things TV. We're going to explore a lot. I am someone that is in the industry on IMDb, all different categories: directing, acting, writing, multiple projects. It's not, I'm not a newbie in this. I've had training. I've been on big productions. I've been on small productions. I've been on iconic productions, Big Bang Theory. I'm not going to go into all my stuff. I'm just setting a basis, establishing that I've been in the industry for a while now. I am currently in the industry and I'm currently working. Actually, I did an audition this afternoon or this evening. I say all that to say this is the first episode. I'm excited. I just wanted to, I get on social media and I try not to be on social media that often. But I get on, and when I get on, it's usually after watching a show. It's usually after watching a really good movie, and I hashtag that movie, I hashtag that show, and I'm like trying to find some dialogue on like how people felt about it. And I really want to understand, because that also helps as a writer. Like, what's good? And I liked it. How did everyone else feel about what was going on with that film, with that show? And so I get on and I do that often. But I think this is an even better way of gathering data, also sharing my thoughts. Maybe some of you will be interested in, and I just think this is definitely a more effective way of going about things. And so, welcome for this first episode. I wanted to talk about the last show that I just watched while it's fresh, which is Landman Season 2. The season finale, I just finished it up. It was, in my opinion, it was great on so many levels. It was great on so many levels. And let me bring it back a little bit. Let me reel it in and explain a little bit about where I started off with this show, to give a little more context. So me, as a person that is not really into Westerns, I wouldn't say that's my go-to. I'd say actually I probably, as I have this hat that says Western, I've been a lot more open to it these days because I like where modern film is going with Westerns, and I've been a little bit apprehensive, or I've been a little bit hesitant, that's a better word, to explore Westerns, just because I don't want to, a lot of them, when you think of Western movies, you think of way back in the early 1900s, mid 1900s, and you're thinking about where the state of the world was at the time, especially for African Americans or any people of color. And so I think about that when I think about Westerns and stuff like that. But I will say these modern Westerns have been very politically correct, and they've moved in a direction where they might add some of it in there, but it's not added in there to where it may have been in the mid 1900s, where it was commonplace, or it was cool to be like, say the N-word, or, you can't be here type of thing. And in the modern era with these Westerns, I feel like they're a lot more in tune, and they go about it in a better way. They go about it in a different way. And Landman is definitely one of those cases. I feel like hiring Billy Bob Thornton kind of set an established tone. Billy Bob Thornton is also, he's known as eccentric himself. And so, a lot of the actors that have been doing it for a long enough time, or have gotten the perspective that's going to help you grow as an actor, as a writer, as a director, I feel, is to just gather I feel like it's less of training and it's more of gathering data on perspective, because that will be your guiding light on explaining these characters that aren't common, that you don't see walking on the street, that are that news article. They're who the news article's about. They're who, they're very unique, and what these shows, these movies explain to us people that don't meet these people, don't see these people in our daily lives. They explain like their motives. They explain a little bit about their backstory, and so that's exactly what I feel like Landman did. Landman took a modern, current approach without being too heavy on the let's force. And I'm not one of those people that even say woke. I don't subscribe to any political side either way, and so, but I will say, I like what Landman's doing. They made it really, really nice. As someone that's also lived, as we're talking about perspective and we're talking about having a little bit of understanding about what the content that we are talking about. I've lived in Oklahoma. I've lived in very small town, Lawton, Oklahoma. It was about, I don't know, maybe an hour from Oklahoma City, something like that, maybe further. I don't remember. It was so long ago. As I was out processing from the military, I was in Lawton, Oklahoma. And just, it wasn't my vibe, but the older I get, the more I lean towards these Westerns now, these, you know what I mean? I have more of a rugged look from what I keep hearing. I'm into things that I wasn't into before. Now I want to get a Ford Bronco. And when I tell people that, they're like, you look like a Ford Bronco guy. And I'm like, what does that mean? And then I step back, I zoom out a little bit and think about where I am in life, think about how I kind of carry myself. I've always had really good manners, things like that, the beard. I could wear a cowboy hat, honestly. I don't. This is Washington. I live in Washington, near Seattle. That's not exactly my vibe. I wouldn't go as far as like wearing the cowboy hat, but I would be kind of black cowboy if you had to if you had to deduce it. Black cowboy in the city. But I want to get on to the episode. What's happening in this season finale? At this point, if you haven't seen it, you should not be here. Spoiler alerts everywhere. Cooper finds Ariana in this back alley where this guy that Ariana kicked out of the bar days, maybe, I want to say days before, didn't really give a timeline, but I'm going to assume like it was a few days, maybe a week, where she kicked this guy out. She goes on break in the alley. Not a great place to go on break. Not for a woman. Not for anyone. Not a great place to go on break. She goes out into the alley, and this man that she kicked out previously is there waiting for her. The tone of the situation didn't feel like he was waiting specifically for her. It felt like he was just, if I'm thinking about it as a writer, if I'm thinking about it as a human being who's been in, less than great situations. If you've been an addict before, I don't have much experience with that, but I can empathize, and I work in a field. My day-to-day job is as a behavioral case manager, so I work at a crisis solution facility. The population that I work with most often is people suffering addiction, mental health challenges, and being unhoused. And so if I think about it from that perspective, I'm thinking about this man that was kicked out. He's going back to what he knows. He can't get into this place, and so he's just kind of hanging around there. He may even park and have a parking spot out there. And then this is one of the nights he decides to get out of his car. He's walking back in the alley. He's drunk. You know, he still buys the booze. He still gets drunk. He's out in the alley. He sees Ariana. It didn't seem like he was waiting for Ariana when Ariana found him there. It seemed like Ariana just crossed his path. And she was like, "What are you doing here?" type of thing. I don't remember the exact words, but he was like, "What are you doing here?" That's my tell. Where I'm like, oh, he wasn't even this isn't what he was here for. He's probably still there very often. And so Ariana finds him, they get in a little spat. He, as a lot of males do, I'm not gonna say most males, also, again, we talk about perspective. Generalization is very often a bad thing and sometimes can be helpful, but very often it's a bad thing as well. And so they get into a fight. She punches him a couple times, tries to get away from him. He knocks her to the ground, knocks her unconscious, and just starts undressing her, which was it's a hard watch. And then Cooper, who's visiting Ariana at work for his first time, which some could say that's probably a little bit on the nose, like, oh, the first time he goes to go see her at her job, this is what's happening. But you know, that's what happens in life sometimes. Sometimes people are there at the right time. Sometimes people just sense a need to be around you, and it's at the right time. Like, if you hear about situations where people are saved, where they feel like they're in this situation where they're a victim and they were saved by some random passerby, or their spouse or their loved one came around at the right time. That's what you hear a lot of the time when you talk about those situations. If they were there like 2 minutes later, then blah 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 would have happened. But Cooper was there. He went to go visit, and he did what a lot of people would have done in that situation, was grab the man off of him and then beat him. He beat him near death. In the season finale, it doesn't show whether or not, in the previous episode, whether or not the man was living afterwards. In the season finale, we find out that the man died, but he died from a heart attack. And so who's to say where that heart attack happened at, what was the cause? And so because the man is dead, now we need a lawyer, we need a Rebecca. Ariana gets a hold of Rebecca, and Rebecca really, she has a lot of moments like this. They give her character a lot of moments where she kind of flexes, and it's needed, it's necessary. It's always in spots where it's absolutely needed, when someone's, it's never just unsolicited. It's never in a situation where it's like, okay, you're just bragging, you know what I mean? It's always needed, and she delivers. And I feel like her monologue was amazing. Kayla Wallace, who plays Rebecca, her monologue was amazing, where she's really just handing these guys like she was incredible. I love the dialogue in the whole series. That's also been consistent from season 1 and season 2. And what I like about the dialogue is that it gives you. I also used to write lyrics. I still write lyrics. And so when you're writing song lyrics, especially if like you're writing raps, which I used to write back in the day, and I still write from time to time. Anyway, you're looking for the punchline. You're looking to elicit a reaction. And that's how the dialogue on this show is constructed. Most of the time it's coming from Tommy. Tommy is looking to hit you with the punchlines. it's a lot of those old school dialogues that they know is gonna reach the audience. So, he goes on and on about, different things that are happening in the current world from a traditional older guy perspective. and I think it resonates really well with a lot of people that watch the show. It has to, because if you're not really into old people complaining about stuff, you're probably not going to want to watch the show in the first place. The cast will throw you off seeing Sam Elliott, Billy Bob Thornton. But I feel like, I don't know, this might be what they thought about when they crafted this show. You see Billy Bob Thornton, you feel like you narrow your audience. You see Ollie Larder, it opens up a little bit. You see Michelle Randolph playing Ainsley, his daughter, it opens up a little bit. So now you could just go through ignoring Tommy the whole time you're watching the show, and then just like focus on when you see Michelle, when you see Ollie, or when you see, Angela or Ainsley. And then even the new massage therapist for Sam Elliott. Oh my, can we? All right, we're not even gonna go there. Anyway, so yeah, the show gives you different things. It casts a wide net as far as like audience goes, and I feel like it caters to a lot of different demographics. If you just say it like that, it sounds very difficult to do, especially you're talking about a Western Oklahoma oil rigs. Also, my brother works on an oil rig in Oklahoma. It's tough, but the way they do it, the way they crafted it, like hearing about it without knowing anything, I go, that doesn't sound like my show. You watch an episode and you're stuck. That's exactly what happened for me. So while we're talking about the season finale, Cooper is in this situation where Rebecca's having to save him. Rebecca's having to come to the rescue. Like I said, she flexed, and basically she got dirt on one of the cops. She got dirt on one of the cops that were the arresting officers, which he actually wasn't arrested, but one of the officers that were interrogating him, she got dirt on him. And she was basically like, if y'all pursue this, here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do to y'all. Like, your little town, I'm about to milk it for everything it has. And she really put her foot down. But there was also something significant. Obviously, there should be. This is the season finale, after all. Tommy. So Tommy was fired in episode 9 by Cammy. Cammy's the husband. Cammy's the wife of the previous company owner. And now she assumed ownership, and, she's doing all the things instead of just selling the company, which sounds like a really great idea. When you haven't been in that world, her husband was in it, but it's not like they were sharing trade secrets and stuff like that. And, she was living a cushy life, and now she's wanting to, something about her, isn't wanting to go out without a fight. I'm not sure who she's fighting. And we could probably get into that more in season 3 as to the whys of Cammy. Like, why can't she just let this? And it seemed, I don't know. Maybe they'll get into that. And I feel like that's a good, from a writing perspective, that's a good pivot. But Tommy, because Cammy fired him in season 9 or episode 9, Tommy, he basically goes and talks to Galeno. The overall summation is that Galeno only agreed to work with Cammy because of Tommy in the first place. And so Tommy gives him a really good deal and starts his own company, CCT and Cattle or something like that. It's funny. You'll if you haven't watched it, you'll watch it. Hilarious LLC, just so they don't get sued for using that. But it was great on a lot of levels. The acting is always there. The writing is pretty consistent. It always offers you those punchlines. It always offers you those hits of dialogue. Usually with Tommy, they add it with Sam Elliott. TL. He's the grandpa. They give it to you from the wise, the elder statesman. And this time, it offered in this season finale, it offered some insight into Angela, which is Tommy's ex-wife, but they continue on like they still live together, all this good stuff. The insight into Angela was probably my favorite part of the season finale, because you see her as this ditzy, privileged, everything is handed to me woman, she's beautiful, all this stuff, and she knows that, and she leans on that, and she's very aware and uses that to her advantage. And she knows about Tommy being fired. She asks him if he's worried about it. And I forgot what led her to it's fresh, but it's not fresh enough. But basically what Angela did was she said that he's already so lucky, in her own words, and that he just has to look a little bit closer. How I received it, how I'm understanding it is that he just needs to look a little bit closer to see that he has plenty to be grateful for. He has the big house, a beautiful wife. She talked about herself. She was like, you have me to be grateful for, type of thing, Angela at this point. They're looking off at all this land that they own. They're looking at, just off. How TL looks off when he's sitting in his seat outside and just watching the sunset, sunrise. They're just looking off and they're having this deep conversation. And Angela showed some depth that I didn't know she had, which they could also be setting up to explore that a little bit more in season 3, showing a different side of Angela, showing a different side of Cammy. And we already saw a different side of Rebecca. Rebecca showed up as, this killer lawyer. And she showed that she did have a soft side, with Charlie and their little romance and stuff like that. So that was cool to see. But I really have a feeling Angela and Cammy are going to be 2 focal points going into season 3 as far as what do we learn about them, because they're not one-dimensional. No, I'm not going to lie. Angela's been pretty one-dimensional until this episode. Cammy's been stuck on her ideals, but you can tell she has layers. The way that Demi Moore is acting is fantastic. It's so good. It's masterclass level, because it feels like in every decision that she makes, there's pause, that she's thinking about it. And who knows? And everybody's saying that, the company's crashing and it's going to crash. Who knows? Cammy can blow up. Like, Tommy talked about some of the liability. He talked about a lot of the liability with Galeno, and but another avenue that they could explore. This is as a writer. Another avenue they could explore is if Tommy's wrong. If Tommy's wrong and Cammy's right. So what if everything happens for Cammy? What if she banks on it and she gets it? You know, it's really only going to hurt Tommy. Not like Tommy had any say, he was fired, but Galeno is going to win. Galeno already's taking Cammy's situation as possible loss and going to recoup everything back with Tommy. Doesn't mean that Tommy's situation's gonna work. What could happen is Tommy ends up owing Galeno in season 3 because his shit goes bad. His shit doesn't go as expected. All those fucking sites that Cooper found could end up fucking shit in the bed in season 3. And now they're owing, and Cammy is winning. It's like, it's the scenario that you don't want to happen because we are already attached to these characters, and you want the best for Tommy, you want the best for his family, even though they can seem very snobbish. Not Tommy, but you know what I'm saying. This could be the season where things turn around and they are having to. This would aid in showing a little bit more of Angela, where they're having to think about things like finances. They're having to be aware of that a little bit more than they were before. And so I wonder what you guys think about that angle. That's definitely one they could take. You know what I want to say that I understand, but I'm equal parts kind of frustrated by John Hamm being taken out. It was super important. It moved and shifted everything in such a huge way. But I like John Hamm. I was a Mad Men fan, and I watched most of that show. But yeah, anyway, you knew they couldn't hang on to him for that long as a supplemental character. That is a leading man right there, usually, and so the contract wasn't for that long. But yes, I love it. I'm very interested in what they do with season 3. I like Ariana. I like that the women are strong in this series. Even the women that seem like you look at an Angela and you're like, oh, she literally gets everything handed to her. She sets her life up to get everything handed to her. There's strength in Angela too. There's depth in Angela too that we saw in the season finale, which gives you a little more perspective about her. And we don't need to go. I feel like we don't even, as a writer, looking at this from a grand scheme of things, I feel like we don't need to go too deep into Angela. But to have some knowledge of her layers will make us appreciate her a little bit more. I think Ainsley needs that. Ainsley needs that big time. Ainsley's learning on her own a little bit. With her new roommate, she's deciding to give her roommate another try. She's learning a little bit more. She stood up for people that were being made fun of. We did get to see some layers to her. But I feel like if she sees, and she probably does, but I feel like this needs to be made aware of at some point, that she needs to see the layers in her mom, because that's going to make her a better person going forward. Because whatever the fuck that was, when she met TCU, when she was there, trying to get into TCU, and just how she presented, the fact that she didn't have the awareness that she was so privileged and oh my goodness. I feel like most people's wake up call is in some trauma, it's in some, major event that happens. It doesn't need to be that way. You could be a little more creative about going about how she gets her wake up call. And she did have she's having some moments of, showing her layers, which, like I said, she was standing up for the kids that were being made fun of. Her roommate, specifically, which is what turned that situation around. But I feel like she needs a bigger wake-up call. But it doesn't have to be too extreme. They could use this whole situation, like I said, maybe Tommy's company is in debt. Maybe Tommy's company doesn't go as well as they hope, which introduces a level of frugality that they have to use going forward, which Ainsley probably wouldn't understand at first. Cooper's interesting, and I think it's because he learns from his dad intuitively, and Tommy's not really like that, not really like the women. Yeah, and that would explain it, but I feel like, and Cooper has gone through some adversity. He's been jumped. He's gone through a lot. He's killed a person, or whatever. He's been changed. Ariana is definitely a fighter. So we're seeing all these things that are kind of shaping our favorite characters and stuff like that. TL's gonna get some more responsibility. He's finding more reasons to live, or Tommy's giving him more reasons to live. And it's been a very cool thing to see. I'm interested to see what you guys think. Drop some comments. Let me know where you guys are at with everything. Let me know how you guys feel about like some of the things that I was saying, and if you feel like I'm wrong here, I'm right there, and I am down for all of that, because obviously, I'm not one of the writers on it. I could be completely wrong about some of the stuff, but just based on, this is now 2 seasons of watching it. I've been watching it every Sunday that it comes out, and very interested and excited to see where they take it. And if you guys ever need it, and if anyone from the show ever watches this, I've heard I do still give off the Oklahoma vibes, I like the team too. I like not Tommy's team, but it's Cooper's team. Cooper's team of guys that he's taken on. Tommy is going to be the senior vice president of the company. Tommy's going to be the senior vice president of the company. So we're going to see how that looks with Cooper being in charge. What I want for Cooper going into season 3 is I want to see, he looks young, he looks frail. Usually with those characters in Hollywood, the Shia LaBeoufs, anyone that's lighter in frame, they're going to give you these roles that have much to be desired. But what I'd like to see from that's his actual name. What I'd like to see from Cooper is some more strength. He's always kind of, he killed the guy, blah, 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 whatever. That wasn't what you're wanting to see. That wasn't what I'm wanting to see from Cooper. I'm wanting Cooper to get his footing a little bit more, I want Cooper to grow up a little bit. And I want people to see that shift. I want him to get good at what he's doing. He's been lucky at what he's doing. I want him to get good at what he's doing. So we'll see. We'll see. You guys drop in the comments. Let me know what you guys are feeling about this. What I don't want for season 3, and this is not. This is I don't want this to be judgment, but I don't want TL and the massage therapist to be like, you know where I'm going with this. Yeah, come on. Come on, man. I get it. Like, it makes sense for both sides. It makes sense that TL wants a young woman around. She's changing his life. She's giving him life. It makes sense for her because now she's making money. She doesn't want to give up that money. But come on, man. Just, let's not. We don't need to do all that. You know what I'm saying? That's what I don't want to see. I want to see some boundaries, maybe some boundaries around that situation. It doesn't look like he's gonna cross any, and he would be willing, or he would definitely be. No, the boundaries could be crossed with her trying to cross them, and TL just being like, TL like feeling bad, and maybe having an awakening, like he's not seeing her sexually. He's just, he likes the companionship. This is, I'm giving y'all, if y'all are reading this, the writers for the next series, I'm giving y'all some gems. Anyway, thank you guys for joining this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the opinions and the perspective. If you didn't, it is what it is. Still hit a like anyway. Please subscribe.